Hi, we're Birds of Poole Harbour, and this is kind of another one of the videos that we're going to be doing because we want to do quite a few over the course of the autumn and the winter to start highlighting different places people can go birding and the different birds they can see. So this is our first walk of October actually, or certainly my first outing in October. We've been really busy getting a load of stuff prepped at work, but I've come down to Swineham gravel pits and I mean, October is such an incredible time of year, amazing time of year. You've got lots of birds still moving on migration, you've got birds arriving for the winter, you've got birds leaving. I don't know if you can see, but there's loads of swallows and house martins still flying around. But most significantly, and this is really sad, just found a flock of 8 pochard. And pochard are a species that we used to have, you know, flocks of 300-400 on Littlesea over at Studland. Not that long ago, only kind of, 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And that has just plummeted. That population, the overwintering numbers have just disappeared. And now we have, well, this is 8. This is the highest number we've had in Poole Harbour, I think, for 7 years, maybe 7-8 years. Last winter, I think we had 2 pochard. So anyway, yeah, just really nice first kind of sighting of the walk. Got lots of swallows, lots of house martins moving, and 8 pochard, so that's pretty good. I've just come on a bit further along the track down at Swineham and on to the Two Rivers walk, and there's 2 lovely new scrapes here that were put in by the landowner, and they've had some good birds over the last kind of 6 to 8 months. But right now there's 2 cattle egret just on one of the scrapes. Now this is stunning. Well, it's the status of this bird has changed so much in such a short period of time. If this was 10 years ago, there would have been probably 20 other people wanting to come and see these birds. But they've now become an established regular overwintering species and passage bird in the harbour, and their status is actually going the same way that little egret did back in the mid-90s. So little egret started arriving into southern Britain kind of during the 80s and early 90s, and then established on Brownsea Island as a breeding species, and obviously populations expanded from there. And the same thing we're seeing is happening with cattle egret that we've got here, and also great white egret, obviously the much bigger relative. So this is really nice, being able to go for walks around the harbour these days and just come across things like, cattle egrets just roosting and feeding up in various fields. Inevitably, I mean, there's some cows you can't quite see in this shot. There's some cows just behind them. And as the name suggests, any wet fields that do have cattle in is where these guys like to hang out. And there was a flock of, I think it was about 20 further up the Frome Valley a couple of winters ago. But yeah, really nice addition to the kind of the Poole Harbour overwintering species list. So I've just come on a bit further along the track at the Two Rivers walk and come to the second scrape, and there was, until about 30 seconds ago, a huge number of birds on this scrape, but a marsh harrier has just come through and flushed everything off. But there was teal, there was widgeon, there was shoveler duck, there was this pinter which actually stayed, there was common snipe, there was about 150 black-tailed godwits, there was several lapwing. And this is a really interesting feature. So the landowner here, so there are incentives for landowners to improve land and their land for nature. And the landowner here at Swineham installed these scrapes, wetland scrapes, just over a year ago now. And they've already started paying dividends. They're really, really kind of nice habitats. Now Swineham's quite unique because it's on the river valley, it's in the Frome Valley. But simply by removing some of the topsoil and allowing rainwater to stand and stay, and obviously the water table, when that rises with heavy rainfall, the water then kind of increases across the flat of the scrape itself, and it draws birds in almost immediately. So obviously you create these types of habitats and it encourages the aquatic plants to grow. It then encourages the aquatic insects and invertebrates to start inhabiting the scrape, which then draws in smaller birds like these house martins and swallows that are flying around, and lots of duck species, and then waders, which then obviously draws in things like birds of prey. So I've just been stood here only about 15 minutes and had marsh harrier come through. There was also sparrowhawk went through, kestrel went through. And it's such a simple technique of managing a bit of land to improve it for nature, but it has such a high impact. So big kudos to the landowner here at Swineham, because it's actually just done such a lovely, it's changed the dynamic for this stretch of the river valley over the last year or so. In the summer it dries out, but that's part of the process. You need to generate the life within these scrapes. It needs to dry out and then refill again, and then the life kind of starts back up. But anyway, so yeah, there's pintail on here. A couple of weeks ago there was some rare birds, there was a couple of pectoral sandpiper. Here you go, got a peregrine just coming through now. Oh, too rubbish to get it on the camera, but anyway, so yeah, peregrines just come through, marsh harris, sparrowhawk, kestrel, but yeah, and now we've got a teal. So anyway, yeah, really lovely walk this afternoon. There's kingfishers bombing up and down the river, so excellent. I'm going to crack on. So just finished my walk, got a nice cup of tea, got absolutely soaked, but amazing walk. Birds everywhere at Swineham today, absolutely everywhere. So part of these videos is to really get people to be inspired to go out and start learning about a new area, or kind of, you know, hopefully seeing some new birds. But yeah, considering it was peeing down pretty much the whole time I was out, there was, yeah, a huge number of birds around the Swineham area. So I hope that gives you an idea of what it's about. Please get out during October, because it is such a busy month for birds all over the place. Yeah, cheers. We'll do another video soon.